Morning, everyone. Joining me today is Dr. G. Terry Madonna, who is a senior fellow for political affairs at Millersville University and a well-renowned political prognosticator from Pennsylvania. So, Terry, thanks for joining us and welcome.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We just wrapped up the 2021 statewide judicial and municipal elections that some people call off year elections. So I wanted to get your reaction to what just happened.
Yeah. Well, before we do that, I hate the term off year, because it's misleading. If you want to talk about even numbered years, two numbers end in 2, 4, 6, odd numbered years, 1, 3, 5. I understand that, but I don't get off year simply because of the significance of local elections, whether we're talking about township commissioners, supervisors, county governments, you get it. And how significant local governments are, in a whole variety of ways. And I've written about that and I've talked about it endlessly about the significance of that. And I try to push back in a pleasant way when that comes up.
Sure. Well, I mean, clearly the folks who were elected this past couple of weeks have more to do and more impact on every resident's day-to-day life.
Absolutely.
Than folks that are sitting in Harrisburg or Washington.
Yeah.
So,
well, let me start out by saying that the ramification of this year's election is going to carry into the midterm elections in a very, very significant way. Let's talk about our state, but I got to briefly mention Virginia and New Jersey as well. So let's start with our state. What we saw this year was a much larger turnout of Republican voters. Point number one. Point number two, the Republicans made inroads into the suburbs, and they targeted the suburbs in order to reduce the losses that they've sustained there over the last couple of election cycles. And point number three, we elected statewide judicial candidates, one to the Supreme, one to the Superior, and two to the Commonwealth Court. And guess what? The Republicans won all 4 statewide judicial elections. So basically, what drove the turnout and why did the Republicans do so well? They won countywide elections in Erie, in Luzerne, in a couple of other counties as well, Northampton, largely because of the increase in turnout significantly produced by the big debate that went on in the school districts of our state. To Governor Wolf's mask mandate that all the staff, students, teachers have to wear masks in the schools, with Democrats far more likely to support it than Republicans. So Republican school boards fought back at it and really, in some cases, didn't implement it or took the position that they were going to allow exemptions, if you get my point. Democratic school boards mostly said, right on, Governor, let's move on. So what basically happened was that the Republicans targeted the suburbs, and they actually did quite well. Now, of course, they lost Bucks, Chester, Montgomery, and Delaware counties, as you would expect. But in 3 of the 4, it was just a couple percentage point difference. In other words, they reduced what you would expect the Democratic edge to be in those counties. And that carries through again in other parts of the state. So what does that, well, I have to mention Virginia and New Jersey because they play into next year, which is what, we obviously want to talk about. What is, you can't separate what's going on in Washington from the elections that took place this year. Well, what does that mean? Well, I think we do have the economy, which in poll after poll is listed as the most important issue. Economy. Now, in some of these other states, education was right up there for obvious reasons. So here we go, the economy. Well, we have inflation. Everybody knows that when they go into a grocery store or fill up their gas tank. And we also have a supply chain problem with ships out in the ports unable to unload their goods because of the lack of truck drivers and getting them into various parts of our country. So that's a huge issue that also motivated Republicans more than Democrats. As I pointed out, in county-wide elections, they also made gains in some townships, township commissioners, township supervisors in the suburbs. I live in Manheim Township in Lancaster, adjacent to Lancaster City. The Republicans regained control of the school board and regained control of the township commissioners. Think about that. We can go out to the Southwest, to the old mining and mill towns, and now where natural gas is important, Washington, Westmoreland, Greene, Beaver, Fayette, Cambria. There, they have, this year it was one county different, but in 2016, everyone had a Democratic voter registration edge. And guess what? Donald J. Trump won them in 2016.
Republicans did very well. If we look at the impact in the legislature, there were two special elections that were both won by Democrats, and there were 3 new vacancies created in the legislature as a result of legislators getting elected to municipal or county offices. And 2 of those 3 vacancies were also won by Democrats. So how does that balance?
Well, I thought most of those were in Democratic districts.
Okay. All right. So it's more a function of where they were.
Yeah. That's the answer to that.
Okay. All right.
But I mean, again, elections do have some localized considerations that we have to consider. The other aspect of it is the Republicans won all 4 of the judicial elections, all 4 of the statewide judicial elections.
Has that ever happened before?
Oh, sure, but not recently.
Okay.
Not
recently. Okay. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Join us for part 2 of this interview on December 14th in Coffee in the Capitol. And remember, if you like what you're seeing, email TVN at PSATS.org, subscribe to PSATS YouTube channel, hit the bell button for notifications, follow our social media pages, and head on over to the TVN page at the new PSATS.org. Thanks for watching.